Indeed, human ingenuity is inexhaustible in everything that concerns the destruction of one's own kind. That is why inventors, designers, weaponsmiths of all times and peoples are constantly pleasing mankind with new samples and developments. But there are also many weapons that cannot be called anything but crazy, or close to crazy. Saber Tulwar. It is impossible not to pay attention to this saber. The blade of the saber has as many as 2 bends, and accordingly, a striking shape with its own unique curvature. The width of the blade can reach up to 9 centimeters. At the same time, 3/4 of the blade has a rather large thickness of the cutting edge, and the total length can reach about 1 meter. The saber is certainly quite colorful, but who in his right mind would go to war with such a saber? It is highly doubtful that with a blade of this shape, it would be possible not only to stab effectively, but even to chop. Stechkin cigarette case pistol, 1954. The first half of the 1950s, the Cold War is gaining momentum, and the level of spy mania is off the charts. At this time, the famous Soviet designer Igor Stechkin is working on an order from the USSR State Security Committee, and the result is a 3-barrel silent pistol TKB 506, made in the form of a cigarette case, which uses special silent 7.62 mmR SP2 cartridges as ammunition. It is not hard to guess that a pistol of this relatively innocuous shape would begin to be used by Soviet special agents from foreign intelligence in their overseas operations. Indeed, this weapon could quite easily drive one crazy, figuratively and perhaps even literally, because it hardly occurred to anyone that an ordinary and familiar at first glance object could at any moment turn into a real combat weapon capable of penetrating even light body armor at a distance of up to 5 meters. Paper armor. Paper armor. Even this word combination can cause at least a slight bewilderment. However, such armor really existed and invented them. Who would have doubted? Yes, all in the same China, somewhere at the end of the first millennium BC, and maybe even at the beginning of the first millennium, but already our era. At first they were used for protection by ordinary people, and then the military had their eyes on such armor because of its attractive cheapness. Be that as it may, Chinese sources give examples that paper armor could not penetrate powerful arrows, and they withstood the hit even musket bullets. The axe gun. Despite the fact that the axe pistol looks quite unusual, the idea to combine different types of weapons was asking for itself, almost from the very beginning of the emergence of firearms. The thing is that the early samples of such weapons were essentially disposable items, because the process of reloading them took a lot of time, during which the shooter was practically unarmed. That is why the gunsmiths had to make all sorts of tricks on the weapon, so that a fighter could use it at any time. Irish homemade grenade launcher. The Irish Republican Army, IRA, defending the independence of its homeland for many years, 1916 to 2005, waged an armed struggle with the regular troops of Great Britain. And when the Irish lacked weapons, they made them themselves. A prime example of this is the homemade grenade launcher with the designation Mark 15. The grenade launcher was so simple that it could literally be assembled in any garage. The Mark 15 used homemade fragmentation ammunition, similar to rifle grenades, with an explosive charge of about 1 kilogram. The Mark 15 was quite handy and compact, allowing the grenade launcher to be easily hidden not only in a cache, but also under clothing. However, the Mark 15 was neither accurate nor long range, and the weak ammunition was useless against lightly armored targets. Apache revolver. The Apache 7mm revolver was produced in Belgium in 1870s and was a typical pepperbox revolver. That is, the barrels were also used as barrels. But of course, the uniqueness of the weapon's design was quite different. The handle was hinged to the revolver and had 4 holes in it, so it could be folded under the revolver together with the trigger. When folded, the owner of the revolver had to clasp the main part of the revolver in the palm of his hand and put his fingers into the grip to get a strong brass knuckle. In addition, a small, spring-loaded dagger with a wavy blade was hinged at the front of the weapon, also folding under the revolver, making the weapon even more dangerous. All it took was the push of a small button to bring the dagger into a fighting position. Amusingly, the revolver, created for self-defense, became the signature weapon of the Parisian gang of Apaches, thanks to whom it received its original name. Stinger Pen Gun. The Stinger Pen Gun was conceived as a last-chance self-defense weapon for use at very short ranges, especially since it takes only 3 seconds to bring this weapon into a firing position. The Stinger Pen Gun is virtually indistinguishable from a regular pen and can be easily carried in a jacket or shirt pocket. Stinger Pen Gun consists of 3 main parts: the bolt, the grip, and the barrel made of gun steel. The Stinger Pen Gun was produced for various small caliber cartridges and had absolutely no sights, as they were simply not needed. The very concept of the firing handle was to use it when all other means were exhausted, and the shooting distance was reduced to physical contact with the attacker. In this case, for maximum effect, the most preferred target for small caliber bullets should be the head, not the body. A weapon with a crooked barrel. Continuously fighting people have constantly thought about how to maximize their safety during battle. That is why there were repeated attempts to create a weapon that allows you to fire from behind cover, and simply put, a weapon with a crooked barrel. At one time decided not to lag behind in this area and in the Soviet Union. So in the 1940s appeared the SG-43 machine gun, which had a 60-degree barrel curvature and was intended for use in fortified areas. Later, modernized version of the machine gun with armor-piercing B-32 rounds could hit lightly armored targets and penetrate armor up to 40 mm thick. For tankers, the Kalashnikov machine gun with 90-degree bore curvature was developed, leaving no chance for the enemy even in dead zones. The Degtyarev handheld machine gun with 45 degrees of curvature was developed for infantry as well. M50 Ontos tank fighter. In 1955, the M50 Ontos tank fighter began to enter service with the U.S. Marine Corps. It had as many as 6 recoilless 106 mm guns as its main armament. The M50 also had 4 large caliber rifles for target practice and a 7.62 mm machine gun. Ontos would approach the target at a distance of just over a kilometer and open fire with the targeting guns, whose bullets produced bright flashes and smoke. The guns could then be fired. The M50S performed well during the fighting in the Dominican Republic in 1965 and later in Vietnam. However, the M50 was abandoned due to the weak armor of the vehicle and the increased vulnerability of the crew. To reload the guns, the Ontos crew had to leave the vehicle and often found themselves under enemy fire. Helmet gun. In fact, the firing helmet is not a joke, but a completely unique design by American inventor Albert Pratt, patented in 1916. The device was a helmet with a multiple-shot semi-automatic pistol in the upper part of the helmet. To fire the helmet pistol, it was enough to blow into a special tube. The air from it went into the inflatable pear, the size of which increased, and thus it influenced the trigger mechanism of the gun. At the shooter's eye level, there was a shield with a sighting device. Shooting helmet was developed for the military, but they rejected it because of the obvious cumbersomeness and fears that the recoil would break the shooter's neck. However, in 2011, it was possible to produce the exact same helmet gun, and during the test, it was proved that shooting from it is quite realistic. However, the question of how to fire the helmet pistol in bursts in combat conditions remains open. If you liked this video, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell so you don't miss new exciting videos. See you in the next video, where we will continue to reveal the secrets of the gun world. See you soon.